Hey guys, I'm Matt Lighty, and this is your 3.15 Expedition Patch Notes Overview. Try to keep it high and tight. I went over a lot of stuff in the manifesto. A lot of stuff might get skipped if it's not something that was super interesting to me. But I thought that was really notable, so I suggest reading it yourself. Again, it'll be in the description below. And this is just an overview. So I'm going to try to touch on all the keynotes that I thought that were important. So let's get started. Part of the major new content and features section, the only thing that really, they added a bunch of gems. But aside from that, 12 new divination cards, 9 new uniques, so that's not too many, and 9 new equipment bases, new things to mess with. Minor new content and features. Microtransactions can now be put on your shields, so that's kind of a cool thing. The Envoy no longer speaks endlessly in maps. As long as you've hit one of his voice lines once each, he'll just shut the fuck up. And interesting thing, they added 3D and 2D art for the Alt Art Divinarius dagger, which is very old. The reason this is important is because I made a video a very long time ago talking about investing into alt art that no longer had, or that did not currently have 3D or 2D art. I personally invested in Orem Vorix, who still has not received alternate art. I have a full tab of them. It's roughly worth 25,000 Exalted at the moment. If they were ever to receive 3D art, like Divinarius is here, and look like they do on their 2D art, that price would probably go up by tenfold, not exaggerated. So yeah, this is a cool thing to invest in. Again, check out alt art items that do not have currently 3D or 2D art. If you play standard and want to make a long-term investment, I suggest checking those types of things out. So Act 1 changes. Pretty much everything got harder. That's the gist of it. Flask changes. Most every flask is worse now and costs more to use. Character balance. Interesting, the base character evasion rating has now been lowered, and we no longer gain evasion for leveling. Also, consecrated effect from the ground no longer grants increased crit rate. It's just the regen. Skill gem balance. Fire Burst was nerfed in 4 different ways, so that's dead. Torrent's Reclamation, the belt, that got hit, so that no longer is really great. It lost 10% action speed, still has CDR. Golems gained aggro radius, like a lot of aggro radius, which is strange. So they now have an aggro radius of 50. Is that good? Is that bad? I assume it's better because it's here, but I don't know. And the only interesting thing I thought that was truly outstanding was Wild Strike can no longer choose the same element twice. So it works really nicely with Elemental Equilibrium now, which is very fantastic. But if you're playing a build, and this is one of them, I suggest checking out your gems. A lot of actives were received a buff to compensate for the overall nerf to support gems. Speaking of support gems, most support gems cost more mana. Most support gems receive damage nerfs. Examples of ones that did not receive damage nerfs and that got huge buffs are increased crit damage, increased crit strikes, and also Nightblade received pretty big damage buffs for some reason. Passive tree balance. Many Flask, Curse, and Fortify and Impale nodes have essentially been reworked. That's like the bulk of these. A couple of minor pen things, but it's really just Flasks, Curse, Fortify, Impale. Those are the big ones. A lot of those nodes reworked. Ailment nodes were not touched on tree, thank God. Ascendancy balance. Interestingly enough, Hierophant, Inquisitor, Pathfinder, Ascendant, and Elementalist all totally lost ailment immunity. Raider now has 50% ailment immunity. But cool thing is, Ascendant regained all of its Raider things. So Ascendant, if you were playing Raider before, and you don't like how it's been treated now, Ascendant currently has with Raider, Phasing, Frenzy Charge on hit, and also Onslaught. All on Ascendant, all on a small node. So keep that in mind. Pantheon's got a minor buff to Curse effect reduction and Corrupting Blood reduction, so that's a thing. Pretty much all 21, 23 gems and all Empowered, Enhanced, and Enlightened that are level 2 or higher can no longer drop. Just, you gotta make them yourself. Modifiers on items that trigger skill now have 100% increased cost and reservation unless they'd otherwise. So looking at you, Cospreys, Maloney's, Asenath, Trigger Wands, all that shit fucking got hit pretty hard. Dot multi prefix is now a suffix on weapons for some reason. Abyss jewels that had the increased accuracy if you haven't killed recently, totally gone, removed. Huge hit to accuracy stacking. Pretty much a lot of fortify and gear either nerfed or removed, totally. Most elemental ailment immunity on gear was either nerfed or removed. Diamond Flask is no longer lucky. It now says you have 100% increased crit strike chance, so way worse than before. Unique item balance. Mjolnir, for some reason, survived all the trigger nerfs. I don't know why, but it did. So if you get a Mjolnir, it's way better now than it was before. Triumvirate Authority, unique. It was nerfed, so it's not like a mini Hateforge. Hateforge was nerfed for traps and mines, but it doesn't exist at the moment. is no longer accessible until Ultimatum is reintroduced, so it's relevant. Barracks Respite, lost Radius. Pledge of Hands, lost Mana. Most every single unique flask in the game is now worse and costs more to use. Poor fucking Roomies got hit like a third time in its lifespan. Cluster Jewels. Most every dot multi, flask, and fortified notable was nerfed or removed. Cold Conduction is basically dead. No longer shocks things. So, DED, dead. Monster Changes. Act bosses received buff drops, whatever that means. So less things, but better things. Enemies are easier to apply element effects on. So if you have a lower top end of things like cold or lightning damage, you can now have a higher chance or more likely to apply a higher version of shock or a longer duration of chill or freeze, which is nice. Enemies do more poison damage, except for El Hazmine things. So everything that's not El Hazmine boys now do more damage. The Atlas was shuffled, so map tiers and locations have been shuffled, thank God. If it was 3 leagues in a row where we were doing the same fucking maps, that would have been a rough time. Atlas passive changes really just include Harbinger got nerfed again, so Diplomatic Escort was nerfed. Nothing was buffed. Not a single Echoes node was buffed, or shifted, or moved, or anything. Very, very surprising, and kind of disappointing. To me, this is actually the most disappointing thing of all the patch note things, is they didn't do anything, unless I've totally missed it, I've read this twice now, they didn't do anything for Echoes at all. Not a singular buff to Echoes of the Atlas, which is, or change, or anything. So, same. Zona modifiers have been redone, and we have some new things to mess with. I was hoping for 2C Abyss, and I have received my 2C Abyss, so I'm very happy about this. So back in tier and I go. 2 Chaos Abyss, 3 nodes in Abyss, 2 nodes in Bestiary. It's a great time all around. Although Mesa will no longer be there. Hopefully we get some good maps. Anarchy for 2, pass. Domination for 3, pass. Nemesis for 4, pass. Metamorph for 5. Unfortunately, maybe. Ritual at 13 Chaos. Ooh, that's steep. But, you know, Ritual, again, didn't get nerfed on the tree. Extremely expensive, but very, very good. Unfortunately, some of the things that the bases were used for are now very nerfed build. Delirium, 16 Chaos. Probably still worth it. Maybe. It's hard to say. Delirium got nerfed pretty heavily, but it's still a bananas mechanic. Really cool thing. Heist lockers now apply to Affinity, and so does the new Expedition locker. So if you like to control shift-click things, you don't have to bounce between lockers. You just can dump it all in your main stash, and you're good to go. And they added some shit about mouse cursors. And then we got the biggest next thing is the Royale changes for the PvP new game mode, Battle Royale, Path of Exile. Players now drop their items when they leave mid-game. This was basically, currently people were griefing the game. Before they were to die, they would just log out. Their character would leave, their items would zoop and disappear, and the person who was about to kill them would no longer receive items. So this is just anti-griefing. So we made this Nerf bingo wheel, and it's interesting because I was curious at the end of this video what exactly, would be actually hit here. And if you look at it, Exsanguinate got hit because of Bleed Dot. Boom, Fortify across the tree. Tree Mana didn't get hit. War Cries, Seismic, Elementalist hit. Blood Vessel survive. Rogue Marker survive. Heist Drop survive. Attribute stacking. The scaling is actually fine. They lost June, but that's fine. Raider hit. Mom is the same. Accuracy value is gone. Fireburst gone. Golems got nerfed, unfortunately, because Elementalist got nerfed and the supports got nerfed. Cyclone is about the same. Ice Spear is the same. Archmage, boom, gone. Cold Conduction, out of here. Fine. Attributes, fine. Fire Dots, out of here. Molten Strike, fine. I did not get bingo. Unfortunately, I just missed it. In no direction did I get bingo. I almost got it in the middle, almost got it there, but Mom survived. Tree Mana survived. Yeah, no bingo this time. Maybe next leagues, but let's get back to the video. Either way, that's really the gist of it. That's your 3.15 overview of the Echoes, what am I doing? Expedition Challenge League. In all its glory, I suggest you read them yourselves, skim over it. The manifesto really missed out on a lot of key nerfs here. The only thing that's really surprising of all these things, none of the nerfs are surprising to me, super, mega surprising. The only thing that's really surprising to me is that they didn't change Echoes of the Atlas, which is really the key end game. I don't even think it's really going to be a meta shift. Just everything is going to be taking an extra week to get to, which is just a speed bump, less of a nerf, more of a speed bump. Obviously, it's a lot of nerfs, a lot of builds got hit, and it is what it is. So try to make the best of it. Play something new, play something that got buffed, things like Cleave, things like Wild Strike, Shock Nova, mix it up. Test out some new skills. Look forward to seeing you guys in the next video, which will be me deciding what my starter build is. And my wheel is looking extra light this league, because there are a lot of buffs, and None of them for any of the builds I was planning on playing. So I'm going to have to shift things up a bit. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Matt Lighty out. Bye-bye.